Namaste, soul brothers and sisters. I am back here in Kentucky in the Red River Gorge after a month of travels and adventures in India. Visited a couple of different ashrams, my spiritual homes there in Rishikesh, and then completed this Awaken as Love Tantra Facilitator training with Monique Darling and Peter Peterson in Delhi, and it was amazing. And as I'm coming home, I spent about 28 hours yesterday traveling. And as I'm coming home and landing in the US, of course, we are in the midst of this very intense COVID-19 coronavirus situation. And I wanted to take some time to record my thoughts on it because as I'm coming out of this love bubble that I was in India, my perspective is really switching, is really, there's such a contrast to the feelings and the environment that I'm coming home to here. um, the social pressure to self isolate and to quarantine. It was interesting. I said that I posted on Facebook that I was coming home, and I got all these messages from people saying, I hope you're going to self quarantine, which I was already planning to do. But it's just interesting how strong the response of everyone is. And so I'm feeling that contrast because where I was in India, like we were all loving on each other and touching each other for, that last week that I was there. And so this feels very different, as you can imagine. So I'm really looking at this meta level of, what is the role of this virus? What is the nature of this unprecedented time, and how does it live in me? Like, how can I find a way to have this situation, this phenomenon live in me where it feels like it's a place of love instead of fear? And I'm so grateful that so many different spiritual leaders and guides are posting meditations and hosting events and offerings to help all of us shift and, find more inner peace as we live and breathe through this situation. So this morning, as I was feeling into this, I just felt like today is the day for me to post this or post something, because as the days pass, I suspect that it'll start to feel more normal, which is good in a way. And I really wanted to post something about this while it still feels fresh. So here's a few things that I'm noticing. As I've kind of re-entered this sphere, it really has felt like I'm part of this swarm behavior. Like everyone is responding in this unified way. I mean, definitely people are doing different things, but the overall movement feels like a swarm of organisms, of bees or, um, yeah, there's, birds. There's lots of organisms that swarm, but it feels like I'm part of that. And I very much believe in the power of vibration and, how we exist and embody in the world really affects everything. It affects the people around us, it affects the world on a larger level. So I'm wanting to live and breathe in this swarm in a way that helps to create the world that I want to live in and doesn't contribute to unnecessary fear and conflict. So, as I'm looking at this, I wanted to share some things that are helping me, um, to find a way for finding more harmony, basically inner harmony. So first of all, I just wanted to notice that this crisis, the way this has happened, the speed at which it is moving, it's, intensifying, and in some ways it's moving quickly, but in other ways it's not moving quickly. It's not like a tree falling in your yard or something, right? It's happening in a slow enough pace that we can really be mindful and aware of how we're responding. So I just wanted to notice that responsibility is there just based on how the situation has evolved. Um, and so another thing that brings up for me is the importance of spiritual practice right now, the importance of meditation, the importance of self-care and yoga and what walking in the woods, like whatever art, like whatever it is that feels good for you to be doing or not doing. Like, really, it's more about the being right now and giving ourselves time to breathe and to allow ourselves to reorganize and to adjust to this new reality that is in the process of establishing itself. Of course, no one really knows what that new normal or is going to look like. And given that we're in this state of flux, it just seems to me like it's a real opportunity to up level where we are from a consciousness and awareness point of view and a connectedness point of view, ironically. So that's the other thing I wanted to say is that as I was really reflecting on my feelings and fears about this situation, the social distancing and the lack of touch and physical connection is the thing that's the most alarming for me. To me, it almost seems like one of these situations where the medicine is worse than the disease, right? Like where the need to separate from each other is almost like a meta epidemic. Like it's worse than, well, it's not worse, but it's a it can cause deeper and more prolonged issues because we all need that touch so much. Especially for me, like I'm a person who needs a lot of touch, and it's taken me a long time to realize that and to come to a place where I'm willing to prioritize that in my life, and take care of myself in that way by making sure I'm getting hugs, I'm getting the cuddles that I need, getting the connection that I need. So, this is day one of 14 days of self quarantine, basically. Um, yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see how this goes for me and how this feels after 2 weeks um, of of no touch. I'm guessing. I mean, I can't imagine. I mean, unless I don't know how else that would go. So, one hope that I would have is that because of the social distancing and lack of touch, I'm wondering if it will make us appreciate that touch and connection when we do have it again even more and help it to become more established in our communities rather than less. That would be my hope. Sometimes things have to get worse before they get better. Um, and to me, the world that I want to live in is a world where touch and physical connection are way more plentiful and abundant um, than separation. So just wanted to say that and put that out there. And then a couple of other things that have been helpful to me when it comes to managing fear and basically what we might call the thought hygiene necessary to help ourselves reframe the negativity and the challenging feelings that can come up. Um, certainly going ahead and just feeling the feelings is always a good idea. Just letting them come instead of trying to suppress them, doing the emotional eating, the musket packing diet, as my friend Craig calls it, or whatever it is. We all cope with that kind of stress in different ways, but letting the feelings actually show up is, of course, a great first step. And as they're coming up and as we're looking at the way we're really feeling, inviting ourselves to love that part of us that is in fear. So loving the thing that's deeply uncertain, loving the parts of ourselves that want safety and want security. Like that's just being human to want those things. Like that's so natural and so needed, and it's okay to feel afraid about these things. It's okay to worry about the future because that's just part of being human sometimes. And so finding a way to love that which is afraid, for me, that's a thought that came from Monique at the workshop this past weekend, and it was really nourishing for me to, um, yeah, to take that practice with me. And one other thing is to take a moment to celebrate the fear and the anxiety that people are experiencing as a form of love. So rather than, wishing it away, would be one practice would be to look at it and say, yes, we're anxious, we're afraid. And the reason we're anxious and afraid is because we care so much about our lives. We care about our loved ones. We care about our work. We care about our communities. We care about our homes, our gardens, our forests. And so that caring is love. Like that's the fear is coming from a place of love, actually. So taking a moment to celebrate that and realizing that we wouldn't be in fear if there weren't these things in our lives that we loved so much, and if we all didn't have so much to live for and to want to keep living for. So I wanted to pass those two things along. They've been helpful for me. And trying to think if that's it. I think that's it for now. I'll pause there. This is my first time posting a video like this, so we'll see how it goes. Thanks you all for listening. Bye.